Hello, all, and thank you for stopping back in to check out another episode. My name is Ashley Robin, and if you're new here, I'm a full-time artist, and by night I like to explore my passion for true crime and storytelling with this little series I decided to start. I wanted to do a video a day, but that would be kind of like a full-time job, and that's honestly just a lot to ask for when I'm not really getting paid for this series. So until I have more support with my subscriptions on my website, I don't really think I can make this my full-time job, but you can definitely count on me for at least 2 to 3 videos a week until I get the support that I need to make it full-time, and then there will be more. But in the meantime, I do have a written component that you can read if you would rather that, and on my website there are daily blogs that correspond with each day the way I hope it sometimes is with my videos as well. So feel free to check that out. The link will be below, and for now all of the blogs that correspond with the true crime as well as the ones that don't make it to video will be there for free. Eventually it will be a paid tier, but right now I just want people to check it out and give it a little, love and attention to help with the algorithm. That's enough of a payment for me. So without any further ado, this is True Crime Time Hop, episode 24. Our story takes place on this day in 2007. Kelsey Smith was a freshly graduated 18-year-old who had a love for Target, as many women do. As she walked through Target in the Overland Park, Kansas that evening, she spoke with her mother on the phone. When it was time for her to wrap up her trip, she concluded her phone call and made her way to checkout. Once she was done paying for her items, she advanced to her Buick Regal in the parking lot, and sadly, that was the last anybody would see or hear from her alive. The recorded last trace of her on CCTV was at 7:07 p.m. that night. Approximately 2 hours later, her Buick Regal came back into a nearby parking lot, and all of her belongings, including her purse and the items she had just purchased, were left behind inside the vehicle. When Target got word that the woman disappeared from their store, they were quick to go over surveillance footage with the police. Upon close inspection, they discovered a man that entered the Target about 30 seconds after Kelsey Smith did. In every shot recorded by CCTV, he can be seen eyeing the young girl at an unassuming but consistent distance. When she proceeded to the checkout, he is seen leaving the store without having purchased anything. It would appear that he was not there to shop, but rather to stalk his prey. Nothing seemed too out of place initially when the surveillance camera footage was gone over from the parking lot, but when the footage of her car was zoomed in on and slowed down, it was clear that there was a struggle taking place, and it is speculated that somebody forced her in her car at that point. Someone was able to be seen running after the struggle that they were able to see, and just after that, a suspicious 1970s-era Chevy truck was seen leaving the parking lot. The same Chevy truck was seen pulling into the lot just before Kelsey's car did. Roughly 2 hours after the vehicles were seen departing, Kelsey's Buick made its way back into a nearby lot, and a figure with a white shirt and black shorts was seen leaving the car and running towards the nearby street. When police released a still shot of the man from the footage in an effort to garnish help from the community, hundreds of tips poured in, but sadly, they were all so vague that they couldn't be helpful. The Buick was investigated extensively for forensic evidence. It was dusted for prints, and then they isolated and eliminated every set of prints that made sense there, such as her family and her boyfriend's prints. They located one set of unidentified prints on the seatbelt. As soon as authorities caught wind of the disappearance, they wanted to pull the cell phone records from Verizon Wireless so that they could try to ping her location. However, Verizon Wireless was stingy with those records, and it took them 4 full days to hand over her phone records to authorities. So when they were finally able to see the location of the cell phone, they were there at that location within 45 minutes. And it was in a wooded area near Longview Lake in Grandview, Missouri, 15 to 20 miles away from where she was abducted. Sadly, they would find her body laying there in exactly that spot, and the worst part was that location is where she had been, according to the phone records, ever since the night of her disappearance. Her cause of death was found to be strangulation. She was choked to death by her own belt. it was found that there was a sexual motive because there were forensic signs of SA as well. After the body was discovered and the kidnapping became a homicide case, footage of the man was released on the news hoping to garnish tips. And between the footage and the description of the truck involved, somebody came forward pointing out her neighbor, who was 26-year-old Edwin Roy Jack Hall. When they arrived to pick him up, he was in the process of leaving for a vacation with his wife and his 4-year-old son. He was charged on June 7th with premeditated first-degree murder and aggravated kidnapping. Now, let's take a moment to look at the history of this monster. He had no criminal record in his adult life. However, he did have a very turbulent childhood, which was challenging at least in part due to his own behavior. He was in the custody of the state until he was adopted at the age of 7. However, he was later returned to state custody at the age of 15 after he had threatened his adoptive parents' biological daughter with a knife. He also assaulted another boy with a baseball bat while he was still a child. He was arraigned on the same day he was initially charged, and his bail was set to $5 million. Hall admitted to being at Target the night Kelsey was last seen, and he said he did see her, but he didn't approach her according to his statements. These statements, however, were quickly discredited when it was found that his prints matched those found on the seatbelt. On July 23rd, at the hearing that was originally intended just to change the venue, he pled guilty to all 4 charges he was facing as part of a plea deal. On August 1st, he was indicted on charges of kidnapping, murder, rape, and aggravated sodomy. It is believed that the coward that did this was sitting in his truck outside of Target when he observed the victim approaching the store. The killer followed his prey into the store and kept an eye on her at the distance that he was at, creeping and making sure that she wasn't there to meet up with anyone else. And when she was on her way to check out and he saw that she was definitely not meeting up with whoever she was on the phone with, he made a quick run out to his truck and got his gun. The killer then abducted his victim by gunpoint and drove her 20 miles to that wooded area where she was found. And he assaulted her, strangled her to death with her own belt, and left her like yesterday's garbage. Because Hall took a plea deal, his life was spared from the death penalty. However, he will remain in Hutchinson Correctional Facility in Hutchinson, Kansas for the rest of his natural life without any possibility of parole. Circling back to the part Verizon played in prolonging this whole ordeal, at the time of the crime, the company had policies in place that were meant to abide by privacy laws, which granted people the right to access the cell phone records directly, but impeded anyone else from accessing said records on behalf of the account holder. The Kelsey Smith Act was adopted by most states and is pending federalization. This act allows cell phone companies to share the cell phone records with authorities if the subscriber is thought to be in danger. Rest in peace to Kelsey Smith and all who were touched by this tragic loss. It really is sickening to consider the fact that this all started with just a regular trip to Target. There are monsters among us, and it's just a reminder to always watch your back. Be safe out there, and take care all.